So, back in March of 2026, something pretty wild happened. Something a lot of people thought was completely impossible. One of the biggest consumer boycotts in tech history, aimed right at one of the most popular technologies on the entire planet. This is the story of the #QuitGPT exodus.
And the numbers? They're just staggering. We're talking about an estimated 2.5 million users canceling or publicly promising to cancel their AI subscriptions. And this all happened in less than 72 hours. This wasn't a slow leak, It was a dam breaking, a full-on digital flood on a scale we'd never really seen before.
And the banner they all rallied under? This one, right here. #QuitGPT. It just blew up all over social media. Suddenly, millions of people were speaking with one single clear voice. And let's be real, this wasn't about a buggy software update. Oh no, this was a full-blown movement, fueled by politics, ethics, and this deep, gut-level feeling that trust had been completely shattered.
But to really get why this happened so fast, we kind of have to rewind a bit, To see what the world looked like right before the storm hit. Because before the boycott, AI wasn't just some niche tech, it was woven deep into the fabric of our daily lives. But, well, some of those threads were already starting to fray. Yeah, by 2026, AI was basically everywhere. Students were using it for homework, developers were using it to write code, businesses were using it for research and marketing. But the really fascinating part is how personal it had all become. Some reports suggested that 1 in 5 Americans were using AI for emotional support, kind of like a digital therapist in your pocket. This deep connection meant that if that trust was broken, it wouldn't just be a practical problem. It would feel like a deeply personal betrayal.
And frustration was already bubbling up, especially with the more advanced users. They started noticing that the newer AI models felt, less capable. They seemed more restrictive, overly cautious, and they'd often just refuse to do complex things they used to handle. This is where that nickname you see here came from, Nanny AI. It's like your incredibly powerful assistant was suddenly turning into a nagging obstacle.
Now, this frustration alone wasn't enough to start a revolution, but what it did was create the perfect conditions for one. It was like piling up a bunch of dry kindling. It made it so much easier for people to even think about leaving. Users were already unhappy. They were annoyed. All they needed was a real spark to light the whole thing up.
And boy, did it get a spark. That spark came directly from the world of politics, and it set off a chain reaction of events that turned all that simmering frustration into a full-blown inferno.
Just look at how fast the dominoes fell. First, boom, news breaks about a massive political donation from the company's president. All of a sudden, your $20 a month subscription doesn't just feel like you're paying for a tool, it feels like you're making a political statement. Then, bam, celebrities grab the hashtag and blast it out to millions of their followers. Then another bombshell report drops, AI tools are being used by immigration enforcement. But the final domino, the one that really caused the whole thing to collapse, that involved the military. And this right here is the heart of that whole dispute. The US government basically wanted an AI company to remove some key safety guards. One company said no, absolutely not, and they were punished for it. But shortly after, OpenAI signed a major deal to provide its models for military networks. To the public, the optics were just terrible. It looked, for all the world, like ethics were being traded away for a big government contract.
And this decision was controversial even inside the company. This number represents the OpenAI employees, more than 100 of them, who reportedly put their names on a letter voicing their concerns. So this wasn't just public outrage, there was serious disagreement coming from within their own walls.
And with that, the floodgates just burst open. The broken trust led to this mass migration of users away from the platform, an event that became known as the digital exodus.
But leaving wasn't as simple as just clicking cancel. A lot of users had years of valuable data, years of custom workflows, totally trapped in their accounts. And trying to export it all was a huge headache. But then, the tech community responded. Developers started building third-party tools to help people migrate their histories. And of course, rival AI companies quickly rolled out their own tools to welcome this huge wave of disillusioned users.
This whole episode gave rise to this really powerful new idea, the Anthropic test. The concept is pretty simple, actually. It says you only see a company's true values when it's under immense pressure, from governments, from money, from power. The test asks the ultimate question: what's the one line you absolutely refuse to cross?
The impact of #QuitGPT went way beyond just one company. It forced a global conversation about power, responsibility, and the very future of artificial intelligence itself.
And I mean, this movement went international, fast. At a summit in New Delhi, you had protests erupting over who should control these powerful systems. Concerns that used to be kind of niche suddenly became mainstream. Things like the immense concentration of power in just a few companies, the massive environmental cost of all these AI data centers, and maybe the biggest question of all, who gets to write the rules for this technology?
If the hashtag #QuitGPT movement revealed anything, it was this one fundamental truth. Having the most powerful technology is just not enough. For systems this complex and this opaque, public confidence is everything. And when that trust gets broken, people walk away. So, this leaves us with some critical questions. It's not just about what AI can do anymore, but about the very structures of power behind it. Who is really in control of developing these systems that are literally changing our world?
And it's not just about control, it's about application. How are these tools actually being deployed out there in the real world? Are they really empowering us, or are they being used in ways that conflict with our most basic values?
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all, the one that sits at the very heart of this entire story. In this new age of artificial intelligence, as these systems become more powerful and more integrated into our lives, who do you trust?